Hello everyone, I am Dr. Anmol and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the first episode of The Best Minds in Dermatology, a podcast to know more closely the most accomplished minds in the field of dermatology and the stories behind their success. So, if you're a budding dermatologist who has just started their journey in this extremely evolving field, get ready to meet the people you can look up to and get ready to be inspired. In today's episode, I'm in conversation with someone who has inspired me since long before I actually got into the field of dermatology. World-renowned celebrity dermatologist and aesthetic physician, author and entrepreneur, the best in the field, Dr. Rashmi Shetty. She has a very long list of achievements and accolades to her credit that we're all aware of, but today let's hear the stories behind that success and her sensational journey to the top. So let's jump straight to the conversation. So my first question is, what led you to pick dermatology as a specialty?
Aesthetics has been something that I've always liked. I know when we did dermatology, aesthetics was nowhere in the picture.
That's right.
For me, it was aesthetics that I always loved because my mom is an artist. My dad was into advertising. So we saw our fine artists in the dad's office create these beautiful ads. Mom's a great homemaker as well. So, those days interior was not still a thing, but you see my house, it's like beautiful right from the childhood when we grew up. So aesthetics was a part of us, ingrained in us. So as I started growing up, after I did my medicine, while I was doing my medicine as well, one of my dad's best friend or closest friend was Dr. Shekhar, who was one of the initial plastic surgeons in South India. So my whole attention was drawn towards the specialty of plastic surgery. And I loved the way you could actually change looks. And we used to work a lot with cleft palate at that time. We had a program called a Smile Train, which still is there. So the hospital that I did my immediately after MBBS, a small stint of working with was a part of Smile Train. So we did a lot of cleft lip surgeries. And that's when I was seeing what a big difference the appearance can do to a person's life. You would see parents crying after they see their children out of surgery and things getting repaired, out of joy. Parents coming to us, a lot of grief, saying how difficult it is to get the girl married because it looks a certain way after the left leg. So I had seen the journey of the afters who were very happy and the befores who were very affected with it. So I kind of knew the impact aesthetics had, and I didn't think it was just vain and superficial. To me, it was life-changing. So I was always drawn to aesthetics. Then, of course, I couldn't do plastic surgery, various reasons, got married really early, moved cities, then there was no domicile for PG, all that happened. Somehow I got into dermatology.
All right. So, like you said, that you went into aesthetics at a time where it wasn't as desired as it is today. So, before getting into it, did you have the realization that aesthetics is going to be the next revolution in dermatology in a way?
So, a lot of people ask me also, how do you market yourself? Like, how did you become, thank God, grateful. How did you become where you reached? To me, genuinely, the driving factor of what I did or what I pursued as a career was not the magnified opportunity that I saw as it is now. I loved it, so I got into it. I didn't know if it's going to become big. I didn't know whether it is financially as rewarding as it has become today. I had no clue of any of those things. I just got into it, like I said, from my childhood, that aesthetics and the importance of aesthetics, whether it is in the space or is in a person, was so ingrained in us. And in my growing up period, I saw the emotion attached to aesthetics. So I was drawn to aesthetics. I genuinely did not foresee or did not have this great plan, nor was I this smart one who found out this is the future and got into it. No.
Okay. All right. So I read that after completing your education, you did a fellowship in cosmetology from Chester, United Kingdom. So I wanted to know, why did you decide to pursue a fellowship abroad? What brought that about?
I don't know. I do have a lot of my family members who are educated abroad. Okay. And those days, these days, a lot of people, even in MBBS, I have my cousins who have opted to do it in London. Those days, that was not what it was.
Okay.
When you're doing medicine, you are doing it in India. If at all post graduation, you went to the US or the UK, right?
Yes.
So I just wanted to see what's happening in the West, because in India, aesthetics was nothing. It wasn't even there.
Okay.
So I remember the initial injections called Zyplast, if I'm right, Zyderm or something. I can't remember the second thing. There was something called Zyplast. Those collagen injections. Those were the very first things which actually came in as injectable aesthetics. And there were some peels that were happening. That's all is what is aesthetics. Much later, even the CO2 laser came in. So these were those beginning parts of what happened in aesthetics. And it was all abroad, nothing in India. So US seemed far away. UK seemed closer. So I ended up going to UK. That's all.
Okay. So, ma'am, but in the current scenario, do you think that aesthetic fellowships in India also are at par with those abroad in terms of learning and gaining skills?
Of course, of course. In India, there are a lot of fellowships. There are fellowships with private doctors and private fellowships. There are fellowships in institutions. If I'm not wrong, Bangalore Medical College has a fellowship. Chennai Medical College has a fellowship. So they all have a proper 1-year fellowship degree. So I think these teach you just as much. And today's advanced so much from where we were to where it is now. There is a huge sea change. So yeah, I think doing it in India is pretty okay. And as Indians, for example, with energy-based devices, the settings that we do for an Indian skin is very different than the settings that they do there. So to me, aesthetics is a very cultural thing in terms of the outcome. For example, you want a certain outcome in a filler. What is beautiful to India may not be beautiful to the West. So what is acceptable in an India as a culture may not be accepted in the West. So to me, training in your homeland with the expert doctors who know how to handle your skin and your skin type is far more beneficial. Those days we all went seeking because there was nothing.
Right. So, ma'am, according to you, what are some of the things or some of the criteria that one should look for while choosing an aesthetic dermatology fellowship?
When you choose a fellowship, like I said, first thing, you make sure your mentor is fabulous. Because aesthetics, unlike any other branch of medicine, is not what is in the text what translates, right?
Right.
It's like making a fine diagnosis in dermatology, for example. That comes with experience. To look at some small thing which nobody else has made out. That comes with a lot of experience. Likewise, to judge what you do, a Botox is a Botox is a Botox. But a Botox in your hand, Botox in my hand versus Botox in another doctor's hand can do very different things on the face of a patient, right?
Right.
So for me, when you train in aesthetics, your mentor is your most important thing. However, for the basics, as a student, you could train in any institution. So you get a basic physics right, basic anatomy right, basic, what do you say, various lights and lasers. And like I said, the physics right in energy-based devices. And when it comes to injectables, your anatomy right. So once you get these things and the tissue interactions right, once you get this, then maybe you can look for a mentor who will just give you that spark, the inspiration, that edge that you really are looking at.
Right. So, ma'am, after completing your education, you underwent training for another few years before starting your own private clinic. So, I want to know when and how did you know you were ready to set up your own private practice?
I started clinic the minute I finished education, because when I came back from England and when I thought of I want to do aesthetics, there was nothing like aesthetics. Today, every hospital has an aesthetic wing, right? Those days, who had an aesthetic wing? There was nothing. So you had to start your own practice. That again, like I say, I didn't plan anything. Things had to happen. So I had to start a clinic. So I started a private practice, not a clinic in those days. I remember starting in a small polyclinic. I want to tell this story to all you young girls out there who think that you will start and tomorrow it's going to become a boom. Maybe today it is because the market is open. Patients are already enlightened and educated about the need and the availability of aesthetics. But when you start a practice, you need to know that Rome wasn't built in a day. So compare yourself. You can't compare your first page of your book to the 50th page of someone else's book and say, whoa, how am I not better? So 20 years down the line, you guys will be people that you're aspiring to be. But now don't get disheartened and don't say, how will I reach there in 1 year? Not going to happen. So when I started practice, I remember there are a few things I decided I won't do. I said, I'm not going to get into referral practice at all, against my ethics. I decided I'm not going to solicit practice in any other way. I will not advertise. So I was very South Indian, very, very ethical, I want to do it only this way, by the rule book kind of a girl. So I remember going to this polyclinic and there was this very sweet, mama-like Catholic lady sitting at the reception. I looked the way I look, and imagine at 25 or 26, I looked like a little kid. And I went and I asked her, I want to be the doctor and take a polyclinic slot. So she said, sure, for how many hours? And I said, 6 hours every day. She gave me a very anxious look and she said, okay, what the hell are you going to do? She said, okay, chalo, le lo. So she gave me, I paid the rent, 6 hours. 1 full month, I sat twiddling my thumb, not a single patient. And I said, shit, what will I do now? And at the end of the month, I said, okay, now I need to ask back home for rent and I'm not going to do that. Then I went to her CPC and said, ma'am, can I do this 4 hours? She said, I knew it. She said, okay, 4 hours. Then another 10 days later, I went and said, can I do alternate day? Another 5 days later, I went and said, can I do 2 hours a day? So from 6 hours every day, I came to 2 hours alternate day within 3 months. I said, shit, this is not happening. And then it started one by one trickling to the extent that, yes, they literally threw me out saying I was eating up everybody's practice. Then I had to open my own clinic. But me wanting to say that all of us, which was just like that, you need to believe in yourself, be passionate, and be true to your practice. That's it.
Right, that's great. So, according to you, like as you know that there's not much aesthetics exposure per se during your post graduation years. So,
Correct.
according to you, after completing post graduation, how many years must one allot to learning and gaining skills before they start their own private practice, or is there such a thing, or you think that they should
I
start?
don't believe, because learning is the rest of your life. I still learn. Like each time I'm invited and I go lecturing everywhere, when I listen to other people's lectures, there's always something I bring back home. There's always something you bring back home. So to me, learning never ever stops. There are some mistakes that you will do and realize, oh shit, this should not have been done. I learned it, but I don't think that was a nice thing to do. But this, oh, I learned it today, which I never learned in the last 20 years. So I don't think there's ever today, now is the right time, if you think so.
All right. Okay. So I read that you also studied business from Indian School of Business with a full scholarship from Goldman Sachs. So I want to know what inspired your entrepreneurial journey and what challenges do you face along the way?
You know, Anmol, I know you are wanting me to give you this gyan, but there is no gyan there. One day I was bored. It was a time pass. I took an entrance exam. And that entrance exam clicked and I got a scholarship. And I was like, what? I got a scholarship? Wow, let me just take it. It was just as stupid as that. Then I went, I took it, and I'm a type A personality. I better be the best when I go. So I went there and I got the best student passing out, the best business plan. I got all of that, came home, sat pretty. Honestly, I didn't use anything that I learned there. So I'm just trying to tell you, things just happened. Though on a hindsight, I'm telling you that, oh, I didn't use anything I learned there, but you always use things that you learn. You may not think you're applying like number 1, 2, 3, but there's always a subconscious where you're absorbing when everything is being taught, everything is being spoken, and that comes into use from somewhere. You may say you're just doing it out of your gut, but I'm sure gut is shaped from somewhere, right? So all these inputs that I have had is what makes my gut today that I take some decisions which obviously are working for me.
True. So you studied business before going into medicine or after going into medicine?
Much after. That's why I said one day I was just twiddling thumbs and I gave this entrance and it just happened.
All right. What is the one factor that you consider the most important in becoming a highly skilled dermatologist?
Love for your job. That's it. It sounds as cliched as it sounds. It's love for your job. I sometimes see, for example, young dermatologists who come and say, oh, I love aesthetics. I don't think they genuinely know what is aesthetics to love it.
True.
Why? Just because everybody in aesthetics is looking glamorous and treating some movie stars and, behaving a certain way.
True.
I, for example, probably if I had enough time to now learn and dedicate, I would love to treat a vitiligo. I would love to treat psoriasis, but I don't have the time. I don't even think I have upgraded my knowledge to what's happening now. So to me, there is so much in dermatology which could be so soul satisfying. So don't look at how do I put it? Don't look at it from someone else's journey and where they have reached. Sit down for a bit to really understand what is it that brought you to dermatology? What is it that you really love and why do you love it?
Right.
It's like being an actor and being a star. Do you love acting or do you love the glamour that it brings with it?
True.
Yeah. Right. So will you be happy being a character artist and being acclaimed and getting awards as to what a great performance? Or would you rather be right in the front endorsing every brand and being the most pretty thing and getting the, press and fame? So you need to figure out what is it that you really love in what you have chosen. Right. To me, it's just love and passion. That otherwise, imagine it's boring. Every morning, get up and go to office and do the same thing for years on end can get rather very boring.
True. So, like you said, aesthetics and cosmetology have become the most desired specialties because of the glamour that surrounds it. So, I want to know that is there a lesser known downside to an aesthetic practice?
It gets boring after some time. Trust me. You get up every morning, talk about sunscreen, about importance of moisturizer. Same things you will be talking to patients. So it's going to be how does a Botox work? How does a filler work? How does a laser work? It's limited, right? But in the end, most practices are limited. But even today, when I finish working on a face with injectables, which has been my passion always, I look at it and say, wow, I did a good job. And I'm so happy. So even today, it gives me a great pleasure when I finish a face, step back, look at it and say, oh, wow, this is a job well done. So you need to be able to feel that. But the downside, like I said, is, one is it can be repetitive because there's only that much you can do, number one. Two, your aesthetics has to match with your patient's aesthetics. There are times when I've stood back and said, wow, I did a great job. And the patient looks at the mirror and said, huh, what did you do? I can't see what you did. Because I'm very natural in the way I do, blah, 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 that. And then I see some patients walking with ducky lips and overdone cheeks and overdone chin, and they don't even know it's a bad job. I'm like, oh my God, so you're okay with this job, which means what am I striving to do this so-called natural job? So all this can happen, which are tiny disappointments along the way that you go along. Today, sadly, the downside can also be people from all kinds of specialties coming into it. One, two, even non-qualified doctors getting into aesthetics, businessmen considering it as business. So this is the only probably medical specialty where everyone is entering. So the competition is not a healthy competition anymore.
Right.
So the price wars, unhealthy competition, the kind that you need to go and scream out on the Instagram may all after some time be a little too drawing on your energy. So that I think is the downside. Otherwise, genuinely, like I said, I love my job so much. I don't see the downside.
Right. So on that note, ma'am, what is your most favorite part about aesthetics?
That I may not be saving a life, but I save the quality of life for a lot of people. For example, I know the confidence building that happens. There was a patient some time ago, I put it on my Instagram handle.
I saw it.
They're actually they were shooting. I was supposed to give that video for a conference. It was still end of our pandemic, where physical conferences hadn't yet started, and I was supposed to send an injectable video for an international congress. So therefore there was a camera, therefore there was a crew shooting it. So I finished injecting, and the minute that reaction was, and you should see that lady's transformation from a lady who was completely from relationship which wasn't working, self-esteem which was low. Now she's all over the Instagram. Her confidence level has changed. She ended up getting a better job. She's moved to US. She is at the pink of her life. To me, that gives me the kick. And I remember one day when I came back home, I used to work in ICU for a small stint after my MBBS. And you know how ICU doctors are treated like gods, right? You come out of your duty, people are all waiting. How's my loved one? What's happening? You literally get that God kind of adulation as a doctor. From there, I moved to aesthetics, which was like, okay, what did you do? You didn't save my life. So I remember one day coming home and telling my daughter that, it feels bad that I don't feel like a doctor who's saving lives. And that's when she was telling me, Ma, you imagine the amount of lives you've actually transformed. It's not about the dead to alive. It's about the alive who actually have given them that life, the confidence, that energy to go ahead. How many careers or how many actresses have you extended? So she was like, it's a big impact. Yeah. So then I think, yes, it is a big impact socially, emotionally, work-wise for a lot of people. So yeah, I love that part.
Ma'am, what are the biggest struggles that you face today, A, as an aesthetic dermatologist, and B, as an entrepreneur?
As an aesthetic dermatologist, God's been kind. I don't think I can pinpoint a struggle today. God's been really kind. As an entrepreneur, I would say, again, I am not facing a struggle because I was just telling someone the other day that there are two phases of your career. Okay. So the first half of it, we're all desperate. We operate out of desperation, where you want to be the number one, or you want to be the best, you want to be recognized, you want to make money, you want to buy the next clinic, maybe you want to buy the next equipment. You kind of working out of desperation towards something. You want to be recognized on a world stage, you want to do something. But in the second half of your career, to me, I work with what inspires
inspiration.
So it's not desperation, it's inspiration right now. So I'm looking at what inspires me. So to me, in the desperation stage is where you're thinking, what is the challenge? How do I face this? How do I, is happening in that stage. In an inspirational stage, you're in a happy place. To me, there is no struggle whether to make my clinic bigger or I want to buy a next equipment. Like I said, success brings a lot of perks with it. The perks are that these small things are now checked. It doesn't bother you. And work-wise, I'm looking for work that inspires me, that makes me feel, wow, I'm part of something larger, nicer, inspiring. So I'm not struggling right now.
Great, ma'am. That's good. So in terms of building your career, what is something you didn't pay enough attention to or ignored early on and then had to learn the hard way? Is there something?
I would say to enjoy along the way. Like in my desperation phase sometime, you're not enjoying the process. I remember my first lecture at Monaco, AMWC, years ago. And I remember how stressed I was, how I hated what I wore. My hair didn't look good that day. You know how it feels for us. And then I was wanting to go on stage. I was nervous. And I was in that Prince Fair, their biggest auditorium, which holds God knows how many thousands of people. And I'm up on stage. I was so nervous. I was irritated with everything, angry with everything, went there, did my lecture, came back, again, was very, very critical about my own lecture, said, shit, I could have done this better. I could have said this better. That whole experience was about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I was thinking, I was waiting for the day I'm called to an international podium. And this is the largest aesthetic congress that there is worldwide. And I'm invited out of merit. And I have been put up there with the best international speakers. Instead of enjoying the process and feeling, whoa, I just killed that day. So that is what I have realized now, saying, it's okay. I don't have to have the perfect hair. It's okay. I don't have to have delivered that bang perfect lecture. This is not my last lecture. There's still time to go. I can still improvise. I can still get better the next time. But let me enjoy this moment, this time, this journey, this day. So that is what I have come to now. That's what I thought I should have enjoyed a little more along the way. Maybe I would have enjoyed the journey even much more nicer.
Amazing. So, ma'am, how can someone, if in case they wish to become an aesthetic dermatologist, how can they learn from you and train under you?
I know I literally get 5 requests every single day, but I haven't thought of it yet. But the day I do, like I said, I'm in a phase of life where I'm more inspired by things. I'm consciously slowing practice, not because I need to slow down in life, but I have realized I need to sever every movement, every moment. So I'm not wanting to pack patients and do 20 things, but I want to sever every needle I put into a patient's face. So I want to enjoy the moment. So when that is happening, my thought in my mind also is that I would love to inspire a few kids. So it's on the way. It's in the agenda for this year. My first step was to organize my clinic to be able to slow down and do a certain thing. My next step is to say how I can impart what I know best. That is a part of my journey. I will do it, and I will let you all know on my Instagram handle the day I decide to do that.
Right. Okay, ma'am. So I'll quickly wrap it up with just a few more questions, which are more about you and less about dermatology. So what does a day in your life look like?
I'm an early riser, like I said, South Indian regimental kid. So I wake up at around 5:30, 5:45, the regular daily chores in the morning, and then I try and work out at least alternate days. I love to keep myself fit. Spend a lot of time with my daughter in the morning because that's our true one-on-one time. I love having breakfast is my favorite meal. So I love to have one nice breakfast or long breakfast. Then I rush and get ready in 2 minutes, and by 10, I'm in my office. So that's it. Then I'm in the office between 10 to almost 7. I go home for lunch because, again, now I love to enjoy that little time with family at lunch. And I'm 10 to almost 6, I'm in the office. And then I go back home again. Either I do a walk or listen to some music, read some books, watch something, and go to bed. That's a normal day. But on most days, you have 10 things. Like today, I'm on a shoot with Unilever. We are launching a nice, exciting range for acne. I can't tell you now, but it'll come in some time. A couple of days later, I'm launching something for L'Oreal for hair. So these corporate things keep me busy. I'm in the process of writing a chapter for a book from IDVL, which will be launched soon. I'm writing a chapter on hirsutism. I'm writing a chapter on pigmentation and PCOS. So that's coming. Just last month, for example, I finished writing a chapter on supplements for Springer for a US publisher. So we finished writing that book. Lectures are on, right? I'm going now for our meeting, IDVL meeting in Gujarat. Where is it? This thing happening. Then the next month, there is one in Lucknow, our mid-dermacons. I'm lecturing there. Yeah, so these are a few things that keeps happening.
Okay. So my last question is, out of the many qualities that you have, which is the one quality that you would say had the most impact on your success?
Me being able to get up and go to work no matter what.
No matter what. Great. Wow. All right, ma'am. This has been amazing. I've learned a lot, and I am sure a lot of people will love this. And thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. It really means
and you have
a lot.
Such a pretty smile, Anmol.
Thank you, ma'am. That coming from an esthetician means that really means a lot.
You've got a beautiful smile. Keep that going.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
doing
You
this.
take care, and I'm glad I did this. I enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you, ma'am.